Today is March 6th. This is the Finance Committee, and it is 11 after 6. In attendance from the committee is Mike Wolf, Julia Olafson. Board members attending as the public is Kevin Strobel and Steve Miller. Also in attendance is Austin Peterson, Kathleen Haynes, Dr. Cooper, and Mr. Hurley. Kathleen, you want to get us started?
For this budget presentation, I've concentrated on the forecast just to see where we are. I know it's still early. It's the end of February. And all the expenses, the moving pieces would be your 300 category, which is your professional services. That would be what we're charging the VCU, people that are attending, children can come and go out of those programs. And the other moving piece would be your 500, which is your tuition. Right now, our tuition is made up of regular ed, special ed. Special ed is about 20% of that, and regular ed is about 20% of it. Special ed makes up all the rest of that grouping. So they're associated with the IEPs and so forth. Right, so I did this by object because when I went through the forecast at this point, there's no building that's saving any more money than any other building. In general, what I found was when I recalculated all the payroll, about $250,000 is out of the payroll and the benefit area. And then the other area would be in legal fees. I think the way we budget it every year is, you never know what's going to happen. At this point, just looking at where we've landed year after year, and that's in the bottom portion of the 300 category. I just went based on where we have been going. Now, if something dramatic happens that we need some legal fees before the end of the year, then of course I'll have to take back what I say that savings is. But for the most part, I went through each of the categories, each of the objects, all the way through salaries. We calculated every salary to this point, where we're going to end up. Skyward, of course, it was very easy. And then the calculations right off, the medical insurance, and the Social Security, of course, and retirement. Moving into the 300 category for professional services, we tried to estimate the best we could.
Before you jump off of that, on the category 2, there was some big differences in things like Social Security contribution, retirement contribution. Why was that? Was it we have less people? What would you say made that up?
Last year's budgeting concept was done the way that, nothing wrong with it, it's just now we're zero-based.
Okay.
So when you take if I come right at this and I take exactly what our personnel are at this point and what our contracts are to pay to the end, this is what it is.
Okay, so the revised is the actual.
At
Correct.
this point, yes.
Okay, based on the zero base. We're kind of going zero-based, basically.
Yeah, I kind of have to, when you're looking for a forecast, you almost got to come at it as a zero base.
Gotcha. Okay.
But the budget was already in there,
Yep.
what it was.
Yep.
So when you come back in and put the actuals beside it, this is where I think we're going to
So
end up.
when revised is when you adjusted it from June's budget.
Right, that
And
original
then,
budget,
so
yeah.
then the as of, is that just a to-date number?
No.
Or is that?
As of today, this is where I think we're going to end up
Okay,
as of
right.
June 30th.
Right, because you can kind of divide and add.
Anything could happen between now and
Right.
then, but I'm just saying that
Okay.
as of right now, as of 3/1, this is where I feel we're going to end up.
So in essence, what's the difference between the revised and the forecast?
It could be any number of things. That's just how it was budgeted.
Okay.
Like, I still have to have, my revised still has to end up at my original budget. The bottom number is the
Okay.
59,008, that number.
But she just didn't move that one down.
Right.
This is where the actual coming.
I understand.
So then what I do is, like, I knew that we had some cost savings in here, but then if you look down in the 500 where the tuitions are, we're about $892,000 over budget
Okay.
in tuitions. So even though I might say I'm saving a lot of money here or here,
Mhm.
I had to reallocate that money and do the budget transfers, and that's why you'll see the revised so much different than the original.
Yeah, I didn't mean to throw you off your whole thing. I just, when we were in the fair, we already were there, I'd ask the question.
Any questions anybody has? Let's see. 300 category, not a lot, like I said, the legal service is there. I have to change that title. It says
What is,
unassigned.
what is Pro Ed SBCS?
Professional ed services, you have it through the IU or other ed agencies, it could be any other agencies. A lot of up in the professional ed there, in the 300, the top part of that is the sub-services for the teachers, the sub-services for the nurses are up there, and then you go into your professional ed services, which could be, that's where the BCIU comes in. There's several program PALs, early intervention, the BOL, or online learning goes in there. No, that goes down to 561. That's 561. Other programs I'm trying to think of that are in there. But BCIU, I know any of those bills go in there.
So what is the unassigned?
Like I said, I just saw that, I just missed that. I'm trying to title all of them, they weren't titled in CSIU. 333 has to do with legal services, another category of legal services.
Other legal services.
Yeah. And we budget high depending on the year, like, it could be, because we're in negotiations, you think you're gonna learn, or, you know, it depends on how many IEP meetings that we need to return to board. Down in the 411th, in that area, that more of your facilities, Casey's group, where all of his expenses are coming in. We did get this was one of the things I was able to correct a lot before we actually submitted the budget in June, which was very nice. All right, so on to the 500 category, like I said, that between the 561 and 569, we had a budget of,
That's $1 million.
it's like 892,000 larger than what we had anticipated, what we had actually budgeted for, 852. And like I said, 20% of that is regular ed, the rest is special ed.
So we were off by like almost $1 million.
Yes. So, when you put it in perspective, there could have been $1.5 million, but now we're only at $500,000.
Is this the largest variable area you would say?
That is the worst budget.
Right.
I don't even know, because 809, that's a significant amount to be off in a budget, but in that category, I don't know how else to do it. Like, I was looking at last year's numbers, and last year's numbers, it was like right around 380 we came in. And that's still, we're still, right now, I'm anticipating we're gonna be 625,000 more than last year.
And the one that's going to be more fixed than anything else is the CTC, it's 564, the 1.2, 1.3 million.
Okay.
I mean, that's a service, it's an extension of our curriculum,
Right.
so I mean, that's going to be pretty fixed from year to year.
And being off isn't a criticism, it's just a reality that, holy moly, I mean, think about it. I mean, this is just an area where, you know, you can be off by $1 million in 1 year and not
But
really, I mean,
last
there's just
year
no
we were
control
good.
over it, because how do you control?
We were
how do you
under
con-
last year, so.
Last year we were
Right.
under, that was one of the parts of the pieces
Right.
that made us, our budget look good,
Right,
was last year. Now, that's not to say from here to June,
right,
a bunch of kids decide not to go.
right,
And then I don't get billed for the kids that don't go.
right.
Yes, it would be good to see the variance based off the original budget too. This is, the variance is off of the revised budget, right? Then you moved around, so it's the forecast and variance.
That's, yeah. I'm
Right, you
I'm
almost, you have to
actually
do the
doing
math on the,
variance
you have
that.
to do the math on the
So
revised.
it would be good to see both, but yeah, see what the original budget was.
Yeah, I mean, just in the revised down the bottom, it's $1.1 million. I mean, an increase of $1.1 million. I mean, so just, again, you know, you sit here and we look at this stuff and it's, nobody's doing anything wrong. It's just, you can't control that expense. I mean, some of these are so variable. I mean, you can be off by $1 million at the drop of a hat, you know? It's crazy. It's crazy.
Reasonable fund balance.
Right, right. Wow.
And that's where I said, I based that on the $852,000 was based off the original budget. I didn't do it by category, but I mean, I have it by category in front of me, like 563, a million.
And the 3-1 forecast is actual plus
Where I think.
some
it would
type of
fall.
a
Yes.
formula you use to forecast out the next 3 months. And so
So you model the rest
if you
of the
divide by 9 and add the 3, I mean, that'd be one way of doing it. I'm just throwing it out there, but
Yeah, but for the, like all the tuition bills, we took every one of the tuition bills.
These aren't made up
I had
numbers.
someone, they're actually in there looking at the tuition rates. I have this many kids, this is how much I'm projecting we're gonna pay. Based on that IEP, that contract, this is how much I'm gonna pay.
Gotcha.
Medical insurance, 211, and I broke it down really good, because you guys are usually seeing it from a higher level object, but I wanted you to see exactly what makes up each piece of it.
Really good, thank
So
you.
you're looking at 211, I had to do, I've already paid the bill for February, I have March is sitting on my desk, so I had March, April, May, and June to pay. I calculated about 310,000 each month, based on, after we get the co-pays and this, that, and the other, that's probably what we net out. So, each one of these categories, meticulously went through each one and gave it, I've had each person in the department, they had their little section. It's like, all right, get me these numbers, get me those numbers. Oh, yes, that's
great.
how we looked at every number. There was numbers like when you see the numbers I'm not changing, I'm not comfortable changing them right now. I don't want to give you some false hope that we're going to come in at some glorious outcome at this point, being that it's the beginning.
Now, do you get the, and again, these are, I apologize for all the questions. Do you get the opportunity to pick what columns are in here? Because to Steve's point, if we could sit here and do the math between the original budget and the revised budget. Now, next year, because we were zero base, totally different game. You're not, we're going to see some revised budget. You have to do
I'm
something.
going to show you the
But it's
revised
going
budget.
to be minimal,
but you're
right?
looking at- Right,
Is that what I'm
exactly. There should be
anticipating?
minimal.
And can we put a column in there to show the difference?
Oh, absolutely.
Here's
That's
the
just me
original
slipping the
budget,
column, yes.
here's the revised, I mean, we can do the math, but it's nice to see it. And then you see the variance over here as to where your forecast is, but that forecast is after the revision. Does it make sense?
Yes. Yes, no,
Because, I mean, it jumped off the page, I mean, 563, it's almost $1 million right there, just
Yep.
in that one. And, you look over and it's at zero, but it was $1 million
It's zero,
swing.
because I don't want to change the number.
I don't blame you.
I'm afraid to touch the number. I don't want to bring us any lower.
It's
500.
amazing just how variable that is. I didn't
Like I
expect.
said, in total, from original budget, that section, I had to move, do budget transfers of $852,000 to get that to where it is, to what you're looking at in the revised budget. And right now, there's areas I can move it from.
Right,
Next year,
there's no areas. Yep.
there's no areas.
Zero base.
That's coming right out of the fund balance.
Yep.
All right, so we have the 600, which is all your supplies, uniforms, electricity, natural gas. There's some areas I don't understand the diesel fuel, but I brought that down. But there's just minor little adjustments that I know that I can change at this point. Like even electricity. I went ahead and did the budget transfers. We looked at the bills and the way that it was being billed. I thought electric was going down, but I guess the way we budgeted, we didn't budget enough in that category. So I reallocated some funds into that area, but I also, natural gas, I could bring down from the original, you see. Me and Scott talked about his area, but we also talked about, he says that, I think 18% of his budget, he said he may not spend this year. So I looked at some of the things he has in next year's budget. Is there something he wants to purchase in order to get ready for the summer, just to, before I remove that and say that's a savings? I want to see if we can reallocate some things, make next year less, or,
We talked about that last night in the
Right.
5-year budget, because if we don't plan, I mean, we just did the facilities thing. I mean, these buildings are in bad shape. There's a lot of spaces. There's a lot of places that, could use some love and care. Not craziness, not, making it Taj Mahal, but, creating an area where somebody can walk without tripping over a crack or things, things that are safety related. All the joints, what we talked about, the joints are gone. 30 years later, there's no upkeep done on them, so it's really interesting. that's a really good, especially with technology, how quick it's moving,
Right.
to be able to take advantage of taking a look at 5 years down the road.
Is it a work with me?
That's great. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that.
In the capital area, like I said, that's more of Scott's area, what he's doing with the infrastructure and all that. I left it alone, we're gonna see what he can do, because I know he likes to get the stuff in before summer, to have his, that's when he can get a lot of stuff done. The 800, you're looking at the minor things are the dues and fees and the bank fees, claims and judgment against the LEA, I don't touch that until I know we don't have any. Interest on the loan and the bonds, of course, are in there, but then back down to the 880, and 890
What's
are
that?
one.
What's LEA?
That's kind of categories outside the debt.
I'm not sure.
What does LEA stand for?
Local
Local
education.
agency.
It's a school
Local what?
district, local education agency.
Okay.
I couldn't remember.
I don't know the acronyms.
It's basically what the state classifies us as a school district, it's LEAs.
And there's the bond and then the capital reserve transfer. So I'm predicting at this point a 515,000 to the good. That could go up or it could go down depending on where tuition ends up.
Based off the revised. It's $493,000 negative variance based off the original budget.
Yeah, the original and revised are the same.
But it's somewhat better if you look at it, if we would apply the zero-based budget to this budget,
Right.
then it gives us, we're actually becoming more accurate in where we're going to wind up.
Zero base
No,
is
you're
always
already
accurate.
saying, okay.
They have to do the same. I can't,
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Okay.
that'd be the whole PDE act of signatures and all
Okay.
kinds of things.
Good.
Okay? Any
Now,
other questions?
when you take that you look like you're coming in 500,000 under, is that reflected on this yet? It is already
Yes,
reflected?
this actually
Okay.
has the same numbers we were dealing with. Our numbers that we had suggested, I just left those salary numbers in there, just kind of give you a baseline. The forecast 1819, the fund balance, and that's over in revenues. The fund balance changed to 5 million, the ending fund balance for 1819, as long as nothing changed. Remember, this is just forecasting at this point.
I see you had the total expenditures updated.
See that?
Yeah, yep.
Okay, so I changed the numbers in there to reflect, and that's both versions. This is with the exceptions changed. The retirement is based off 11-12 calculations, so we got nothing for retirement, but we did get, and special education is less, it's 521,000, so it's equal to just about a half a month. And I put that in both these calculations just to see where the same slide you guys always see. All right. On to the good stuff. Long-term disability policy, we have an adjustment. The administrators, all the administrators get the long-term disability because we took a look at it and the rates that we had in there weren't, if you're looking at an administrator's salary, it wasn't equating correctly. So we had to bump up some things. There was contractual things that we bumped up. Did some couple categories, checked with a couple vendors. There's a savings with a new vendor that we're going to be using of $2,500. And now all the administrators are in the right category with the right monthly limitations. And I have not reflected that in the new budget numbers yet. I'll wait for a couple other changes. The next slide is dental and, I missed one, sorry, technology. This is a recommendation. We had some questions about the 254-day employees, the union, the support union. We were having several conversations about this. After talking with Scott, I moved my office people to 260 days, 8 hours. That was in the last contract. we were looking at possibly doing this for the same thing for the technology, but leaving them at 7.5 hours a day. It'll give him 30 extra days and 225 extra hours, which is with the one-on-one initiative that's coming up and, starting and already started. This will give extra time that he needs in his department and giving his staff, and just kind of brings everybody, the 254-day thing, it's just a strange thing in the contract, but we're trying to, people that are actually needed to be here 260 days. So a total cost to the district is about $8,000.
Was he looking at proposing that he add somebody to his group?
Not
And
at
this is in lieu of
time.
that?
Not at this time. He was thinking of maybe 8 hours a day, but that would have been like a $30,000 cost in the district. But he says maybe later down the road, getting a part-time individual or another body in his department. But right now, this will help with the initiative that's in place now.
I think we want to reevaluate, we'll take a look once we bring more machines in with, if we decide to go that direction. For the one-to-one at the middle school level, we talked about it, technology yesterday, roll out in 2021, so
Yeah.
we'll evaluate at that time.
And I assumed that, I don't think we asked the question specifically, but if there was a staffing concern, I figured you guys would have brought it up yesterday.
With
If there was a need for,
right.
to be thinking about another person, because it wasn't talked about at all, yeah.
Right.
So was he still looking at a potential contractor or is it all internal staff? I know it wasn't.
Internal staff at this point.
Okay.
Because they looked at the outsourcing aspect of it, and the cost wasn't there. I mean, it wasn't a good enough savings to mess with that aspect, and it wasn't much at all.
I thought he was having some turnover and was going to look at that.
So my understanding, 30 extra days, that means we have 5 staff that will go from 254 to 260? Is that right? Okay.
It's a start. It's giving him that extra that he needs to get the rollout of the new, iPads that he's going to be getting in.
Yeah, and that'll be adding days, non-student days, right?
They're allowed, with the 254,
Well, I guess
they're
it doesn't
allowed to
matter,
pick
but-
any day. They're allowed to
Yeah.
pick any of them.
With the switches that need to be replaced, I'm assuming they want to do that during the summer, right? Yeah, okay.
But these 200, the days that they're not supposed to be, they have to do the 254 versus the 260.
Got
The
it.
staff is allowed to pick whatever days they feel like
Sure.
picking to take those days.
Okay.
So they could be throughout the year.
Mhm.
But this is a minimal cost to the district, and it gives him the extra help that he needs right now. And then we'll
Mhm.
talk about staffing later on down the road.
Okay.
Okay? So we can start that process, whatever it is, and then would have to be done. Yeah, MOU.
Yeah, that'll have to be,
Not a contract, it would be a memorandum.
I think
Yeah, I think that'd be them.
that'd be an MOU, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
yeah, it's once, from the
Change
committee,
it
where
around.
there's only 2 of us for the committee, so that's not, we can't make that recommendation, so we're going to have to bring that to the board.
Right.
Yeah.
The next one is dental self-insured. I met with a few of our carriers. We've been having trouble with the Delta Dental. They told us it was one plan, but it ended up being something different. There was some extra costs, charges that were being charged to the employees. We have a list of 12, I think about 10 or 12 people right now that will be rectifying that before the end of the fiscal year. But United Concordia is what we had before, and that seems to be, nobody really wants to change it, but Dennis and I do it. I understand that, but it's one of those things that I think going back to United Concordia would probably be the best fit. Delta Dental knows that they did wrong. They're not going to reimburse me for those 10 or 12 employees. Well, to figure out the cost of that and get that all together and pay them what they fairly should be paid.
Delta's not reimbursing us?
What they did was there's 2 plans. There's a premium versus a PPO. All the dentists, the way that our staff uses dentist's office, they're in the premium section. So what happened was all these charges outside of, now they're being charged a higher rate because they're going outside of that,
Network.
yes. So they fixed it for next year. The consortium that we belong with is Hamburg, Fleetwood, Kutztown, and ourselves. Don't particularly care to be part of a consortium because it kind of locks you in. But This would save us $10,000 annually, but I can't do this until 7/1/2020, and I can't get the rest of the consortium to go with me to do it this year. But in the meantime, Delta Dental came back with a 5% increase and with free premium for us. And I think Hamburg was also getting their free premium as well. That'll resolve any of the issues with the employees, but it's a one contract, 1-year deal. So next year, I want to go ahead and look at just doing self-funded. It's a very easy, Exeter does it, and there's a no-fee program with CM Region. They partner with United Concordia. That'll bring everybody back to the regular way that we use it. And there shouldn't be any problem with overtime.
So starting July 1, 2020,
Yeah.
we will be no longer in the consortium.
We'll-
And we'll be using United
Yes.
Concordia. Okay.
Unless they want to, they said that it's possible that we may even get a cheaper rate if the consortium follows. But I'm not going to.
But that's not, we're not planning on it or banking on
I'm not
that.
planning on it. I'm just
Okay.
going to say we'll probably have a $10,000 savings. We're going to go to CM Region, United Concordia, starting 7/1. Right now, we'll stay with Delta Dental because they did give us, they know they did wrong. They gave us a 5% increase. It went from a 15 or 20% increase to a 5%, and they're adding the premium.
My
So-
understanding is that those two are the two biggest
Plans.
dental insurance providers in the area. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, the details of the plan will be,
Identical.
okay, because otherwise it'd be a
They were
point of
supposed to be,
negotiation.
exactly. No,
And
this-
we're
it was
working it out, I'm not
supposed-
worried about it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the old, what happened, and we will rectify it, because
Yeah,
we
yeah.
rectified part of it. And then the rest of them, I know Shirley has a list of the 10 or 12 employees.
Yeah, I know it's been a huge runaround for you, but
It's been messy, but we're just keeping a list
Okay.
at this point, and they will be made whole
Yep.
before the
sure.
end of the school year. I've been going back and forth with Delta Dental because I feel like they should pay it.
yeah.
And I'm waiting that out, but I don't want to wait too long where the staff is,
So we're going to a self-insured policy.
we'll start that in the 2000.
That's the hope. Is there an underwriter involved at all in that, in case somebody has some type of medical issue with their teeth?
Well, typically, that's covered under major medical. Once you start cutting gums,
Okay,
it falls under major medical.
okay.
Yeah, there's limits on that.
That's why I feel comfortable
So
going
it's a more,
self-funded.
it's a safer, less risky.
Yes.
I got you.
I'm much more comfortable with this, and I know that Exeter, I was there when they went in Exeter. She's using the same exact thing, so I understand it, I've worked with it, they bill us weekly. The nice thing about self-funded, we get the option, if something happened and something wasn't covered, we do have the choice whether we approve that or not.
It's a slippery slope.
It's very
It's
slippery.
a slippery slope.
But it's one of those
Yeah.
things that if
Right.
something was questionable with the
Right.
way something was written, at least I would have that,
Right.
that control.
Got you.
All right, so, oh, life insurance. Life insurance, I wanted to bring this, put it on the CAL for approval. I'd like to implement a new life insurance plan starting 7/1. It will give every employee in the district the option of doing volunteer. Right now, we only have one group, the support union, is the only ones that have the option of being able to purchase volunteer life insurance. It also, it comes in the same cost, the same price as what we're paying now, it's just a better plan with the option with the volunteer. I think employees will have the opportunity to purchase up to $150,000 in the volunteer area during open enrollment without a physical blood work or anything like that. So we want to get the advertising out so that they get into that window, so no one has to,
Great.
go get your life insurance.
Nice little perk.
We'll have to bring it to the full board again.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to put it on the CAL, we'll put it on the CAL for tomorrow, so you guys will see it there.
There's no
and then,
cost involved.
Yeah, and
It's just an option.
have to redo your,
I know, that was a question.
your explanation for the balance of the board so they all
which is
understand.
fine, which is fine. The technology of the both pieces will
Both
be
pieces will go on there.
on the CAL. This piece right here, I did implement this at Olu with the same vendor. So it is a good plan and it works really well.
Well,
So-
assuming we come to an agreement before July, we could also, when we're presenting the contract, we could present this as part of it. If you're worried about advertising it, we should have a captive audience at that point.
It's a good benefit, and you can carry it forward when you leave the district, you can carry it with you. It's a good thing. It's only the one group had it, which surprised me.
Too many people don't have it. Yeah, I mean,
And a lot of people
younger
don't-
people
They don't
have it.
understand it enough to,
Yeah, I mean-
but in my current situation, I was able to, I found out that the other girl had it, and I was like, oh, wow, didn't have it. But it's good to have, everybody should have it. Good selling point. Good benefit. All right, into the revenues, like I explained, that's to the max. I carried forward the fund balance and everything. We went over that before. Again, the special education, it's the only exception, and I've already applied for that. Everything's been signed off and sent in. It would bring another $500,000 approximately. This is what our mills would look like if we went max with the exceptions. And you've seen this before. This is just what we've done in the past. And this is where we sit within the county, number 5. And I did the 5-year plan. Like I said, this 5-year, it puts the forecasted numbers, what I feel where we're going to end up. I did the 3 versions that we were working with before, and I did leave the district proposed salary number for, the negotiations is sitting there in the carry forward numbers. The first page is the 0.7% mill increase. The next one is no exceptions but to the max, and the final one is exceptions and the max. So I kind of gave you a good to look at where the fund balance carries forward.
Now, when you say the salaries, the increases, I noticed there's increases, those are the already settled contracts?
No, that was when we had, I didn't change those numbers from what the district had proposed during our meetings. The one you didn't agree with was,
The last proposal.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's your, I got you.
I just put those, I left those numbers in, just to put a number in there, just to get something in there so you guys don't think that, it looks,
No, I understand. All
I'd
right,
like to put something in there, so.
okay.
And I just kept it at our,
I was just curious what the placeholder was. Was it the already settled contracts of the Act 93?
those
And
are already in
they're
there,
already
and then
in
on
also.
top of that is that spreadsheet you got at the
Okay.
last negotiation.
Gotcha.
Just so I would love to see the carry forward with the Social Security and retirement. Gives you a better picture. Not to say that that's final, it's just gives you a better picture. Anybody have any questions?
And for the healthcare adjustment, are you using 10% per year?
Yes,
So you're projecting a 10%?
yes.
Okay.
I think we're at not to exceed 8% for next year, or 9% next year.
Yeah, I thought it was 9.
Yeah,
So hopefully it'll come in a little lower.
and I have an 8 so right there I have 8.9, but carrying forward the years out,
Okay.
yeah.
I just wondered what your place
I was close, I have 8.9%.
Yeah.
I think taking a look at that 5-year projection, if you pay attention to the 2022, 2023, which is the 4th year of the projection, when you take a look at the 0.7 mil increase and, calculating fund balance and everything, where we would be at a deficit of 2.3 million, and then with a max increase, the deficit would be 642 with the projections. And then with the exceptions, you wouldn't carry out that deficit until,
That's kind of forward.
And this is based on a maximum tax increase every year.
yeah,
Yes,
that's what that would be.
that's what that one is.
That's what that indicates, yes.
Based off of this year's balance, because you don't know what the max is until the year comes. So you
Right.
base off of this year's numbers.
Right.
Sorry, on the second one with the max increase, in year 22, 23, which is operational balance of negative 642,000.
Correct.
Ending fund balance is 2.6.
Yes,
What's the difference?
The ending fund balances, we still have money there, but the operational difference would be between the revenues and the expenditures. Expenditures are $642,000 more than what our revenue coming in.
So we still have fund balance throughout.
We still have fund balance, correct.
Is it a negative fund balance? Current proposal? I thought we did.
Yeah, we did the,
We
we
did,
do the
okay,
points.
negative fund balance. If we go with the .73,
Yes.
It is
that
4
is
years old, but
a negative fund balance in the year
not too
22.
much.
Correct.
Correct.
Now, when that 100,000, I know you said it before, the $100,000, is that the middle school?
Yes, and that's right at the top, the middle school staff reduction
Okay.
estimated. Very top, right across the top of the page.
Oh, I see. And you're, in essence, you're estimating one per year. Okay.
I didn't think that's what that meant. One additional each year? That's-
I think it's one, is it one a year? I thought, I don't remember how he explained it. That's
I
what
thought it
somebody
was
might have a
just
better
one,
answer.
and then that
Just carries.
amount
Is it just
off
one?
just
Okay,
carries,
or is it
carries
two?
through.
I thought it was two.
Might be two.
I thought it was two.
And it just carries through for the
Yes.
remaining 3 years.
Okay.
So you're saying two total or two per year?
Total.
Two
Two
total.
total,
Okay,
and it carries forward year after year.
Yeah, because under salary adjustments, it says 100,000 for each year, but not an additional 100,000 each year. It's not cumulative.
Right,
It's
exactly.
just, yeah. Did that make sense? That, yeah.
So what else do we have to, we have to consider between now and the end of April?
Nothing for the Act One, we're just kind of waiting until that vote for the millage, because everything's kind of open now. We've left it open.
Well, I meant, we don't know how many retirees we're expecting.
Right, exactly, we need to
we-
get all those numbers in there, and then,
We
yeah,
have a-
from that aspect, yes.
Yeah, we have a elementary school teacher, we get to decide on what's going to happen there.
Oh, in first grade.
Yeah, so there's some, and then Dr. Cooper's going to be realigning the administration also, so there's some still some moving pieces in here, but is there anything else that,
I know that I went back and revisited the athletics. He came back with about a $15,000 savings off of his line items. I asked him to go back a little bit more, and I'm not sure what he'll come back with. But then I asked for $7,000 for the technology, so it's kind of a,
well, that's one of Lauren's projects to be completed, is the audit of the,
That has been started.
in progress.
That's
yeah.
in progress, yes.
And transportation, we expect to be about what it is. If we don't expect to see changes next year.
Not until I can see the numbers have not been put into the computer yet. I'm waiting to see what the routes look like when they're completed.
And custodial services contract,
Start.
there will be a new contract starting in July 1.
July 1.
So depending on who fulfills that contract, I guess that could change.
and we have decisions to make as
Yeah.
part of that too.
Correct.
Whether we bring somebody in-house or
Right.
multiple, so.
Stay out of contact.
So those are things that are just
Moving
large,
pieces.
larger line items that are question marks for, for reasons. It's,
Correct.
it's
But there's a lot less moving parts now than there was this time last year.
correct.
When we were still trying to figure out what the building budgets were.
Right.
Yeah.
So so
I
we're
don't-
way ahead
I
of the
don't
game.
foresee the building budgets going down any at all.
Mhm.
So that's why I didn't even put them on here anymore. It is what it is.
Because of the way we went at it this year.
I feel that they're very clean. I don't feel like there's anything I can take from that. And the only other, the moving piece, I'm just watching my I saw that coming. When you could see the bills coming through, I knew that was going over, so this reallocation of the budget just to see where it is. And then before we finally, when we get to the very end of this in June, when we submit that final budget to the state, everything will be moved in its correct categories.
Okay.
picture. Work in progress.
Do you have anything else you want to go over?
I don't have anything unless you have a question or something you'd like
Those
to
are my
cover.
only two questions about custodial and transportation.
Yeah, transportation, I think he's close, and that's gonna be, a consulting piece, is what my understanding from TransFinder. We have to bring them, they'll have to look at the routes and see, I don't know if it's a magical button you press. You gotta actually gotta call them and consult with them to see where some cost savings might be.
In our discussions with the stadium work that we're looking at, and I apologize for asking this again, I should commit this to memory. How much money have we set aside in that fund for turf replacement, and where are we?
Find it real quick.
What's the age of that? Yeah, what was it?
2009, I think.
Okay, so we're right
Right about where we should be revising anyway.
I just, yeah, there it is.
So
Enough
far,
there.
at the end of 17,
We have so many
18, we
budget.
had 155,000. And then the capital, the 5-year plan, which, you know, this isn't perfect yet, but down here at the bottom, we have the turf. And these are the dollar amounts per year that we would be putting in there.
And which one is the current year? Is 90,000 the current?
You know, this year right here is the 18, 19.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
the
it-
first one, I'm sorry.
Yep, 18, 19 is our.
Okay, and currently we have
At the end of
155
17, 18 was
set aside.
I think it was
and
like
then we'll be adding
700,000 we needed or
85,000.
something like that.
And that's,
That's
that's a couple days away.
$750,000 on
Should have been putting something together since it opened. We only started already
I know.
2 years ago.
So how much do we have so far?
155?
155, and we need about 600,000. And it's already at the end of the list.
Well, it's.
I mean, we can get,
It was a different, as I was told, the turf that was put in there wasn't the turf that we ordered.
okay.
Because they didn't have enough of what we ordered, so we actually got a better turf to start with. I don't know, but still, it's getting to the end of its life cycle, and I know, you know, Casey's been really good, you know, through the years as far as having it groomed and the maintenance, keeping the fill, making sure it's tested and safe.
He does really work to keep it
And with,
rehabilitated.
working with George, they've moved some of the groups that used to practice on there to move them off that turf onto fields, so
You can buy a couple of years.
to reduce the wear, yeah.
Yeah, like the field hockey folks, they practice around the corner there, and, yeah.
Doesn't that add the expense of having to take care of that grass?
Grass grows back.
It is a little,
If you take care of it.
yeah.
And this up here at the beginning, and we have the capital fund budget, and this will be updated whenever Casey didn't have time to get the 5-year plan done, something with the heating system at the middle school or something. But this right here pulls directly from the 5-year plan, and you'll see that update, and that's at the top of that 5-year plan that we have. And that number's included in there, the 155 is in there.
Does it make sense to look at these numbers with the maximum tax increase every year? Is that really a realistic
That was just-
thought? I mean, I don't think that's a realistic thought. I think we're looking at numbers and I can't even
And this
imagine
one right here
in a
is a
district where you're
0.7.
going to have the tax increase to be the maximum every year. It just makes no sense. I mean, I'm not suggesting we have no tax increase, but, you know.
We could go in and more different scenarios that you could do. You could do like,
Yeah, no,
you know,
that's
a
true.
max this year and then a
So, but
0.73,
they're half-
73,
they're almost
73.
halfway
We
there.
go max, 0.73,
Even if you halved it and said, you know, because when you look at the top number and it's a max increase, everybody goes right to the bottom number and goes, oh, we're fine.
3 more
No, we're
years
not.
even after
We're not
that
fine.
before they get
I just think it's unrealistic
And you may have to
to
look
put
at
that number in there, you know, with all the documents that float around with because it changes that end balance, and it's just not, I don't think it's really good. And maybe that's what ends
if
up
we do,
happening,
that-
you know,
I mean-
but I think it might
We
be,
could, like I said, we could go in and put different scenarios and just add across
Right.
the
I
bottom.
don't know what to
right,
And say, that, you know, this is, you know, scenario one.
Right.
Max, .73, .73, .73, .73.
Or-
Max, max,
right.
.73.
Right.
You know, on a second, on another tab, just to.
right,
That's what I.
kind of grow
Can
something.
you share the spreadsheet? that we
Yeah,
did?
that's what we
Yeah, I think it's
typically
important to
done
put a
in the past,
picture
is
out there that's realistic. That's all I'm saying. That's what I meant by it.
Share
Yeah,
it.
everything else is like so spot on, and it's really so much better this year. I mean, last year was horrible to sit through. We all, you know, it was a challenge to sit through some of that stuff, and this is so much better. And then to see the zero basis, to see the accuracy that we're going to now see versus, you know,
Because the end result will be next year when we align to it. So
absolutely.
It's a good
Yeah,
start.
right.
To see what, there's no contingency.
Thinking like-
to see if
Right.
it's-
And the movements aren't going to happen between budgets and stuff like that now.
5 years ago.
The ones that the unknown are the 3s and the 500s.
Absolutely,
You know,
the
those are-
variable.
Those is so,
$1 million swing. I mean,
Float so
that can
much
take
because
you out
of
in a
tuition.
day, you know?
And it's funny because last year we were pretty good about 500,000 or 600,000.
Right.
That was part of my big fund balance that we ended up
Right.
with, was because we ended up really good.
I don't know if everybody looks at the details and says, you know, well, there's the number, and that's why it's down there, you know?
But that's only a one-year savings.
It's a one-year savings.
It's a one-year
exactly.
savings,
It's
it's
a
not,
one-year savings.
you're not gonna-
exactly.
Right.
And then I spent it this year.
Is it possible to put those layers in there so we can actually take a look at not a maximum tax increase every year? for-
Well, that's what the,
That's
there's
what
the
page one.
three different versions.
Okay,
That's-
there's
I mean,
three
there's,
different
Yeah,
versions
those
there,
are
okay.
three
yeah,
different
there's the
versions.
27,
Okay.
there's the max
I
index.
didn't see,
and then there's the max
I didn't
tax.
roll through all three.
and
of
see
them.
what,
So they're all,
Yeah, the first one is the .73, which we're looking
Gotcha.
at.
that's what's up there now.
And I put that across the board. Jeff Scott wanted to see that way,
Right.
then he wanted to see to the max every year, and then to the max with the exception every year, based on the
And we have what I was thinking. Wasn't paying attention, I
Oh,
guess.
it's okay, it's all right. And usually
Take
we
me out,
send this.
will you?
Well,
do we have any money out there that we can, that we can look at getting back, you know, like the access funds that we got last
I
year?
only put the minimum budget, there's 462 sitting out there right now, but I know that I had that accrual, like they didn't get my money. I was supposed to get $356,801 was supposed to come in for this year. And I put that as an accrual item for the budget. I was like, I'm expecting it in.
You just haven't
But
got it.
it just hasn't gotten here yet. I'm not sure what's taking so long.
The state?
It's federal funds, whatever.
Oh, is it federal fund, or I thought it was,
Access is federal, but it comes from the state. It drives
Yeah,
through
they
the
do.
state, so.
Right.
But I think there's 462, when I looked today, there's 462,000. So technically, for, like, I put zero because I'm just not, they keep saying that it might not even be here next year. So 462, you're looking at about another $100,000 I can put in for 1920, if that number stays true, and I'll see it. Now, the last entry was made in February. There'll probably be about 2 more entries, so that'll drive that number up a little bit more. I might get 120, 150 out of that, and then I'll just add that to the revenue for next year. As soon as I see that, more closer to June, you'll see that.
okay.
But right now, you're looking at maybe 100 more in revenue.
One, you also have to figure 99% of people aren't.
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
You guys have anything, or any questions?
No, I just have a question, Dr. Cooper, afterwards. We're good.
Steve, are you good?
Nothing else, Jeff?
Okay, so we'll expect to have those motions put on for the Cal. I guess we'll talk about that tomorrow. And go ahead and you do your presentation on both of those, the rationale for why the change is necessary for the rest of the board. And that's it.
Very nice, thank you.
If there's nothing else, we'll conclude the finance meeting at 7:01.